she might head this way.
Okay, so I have appointments until 3 is what I'm trying to say.
Huh?
I have appointments until 3, and then I have another one at 6:30.
Okay.
Oh,
Hi.
3 o'clock is okay? 3 o'clock?
3:30 would be
How about
3:30.
3:15?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know if she'll go back to her office and be willing
Okay.
to come back out.
All right, I think I can make that work.
3:15? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll call her
All right.
and I'll text you her answer.
All right, sounds good. Hi, Tracy.
hi, I can't see you.
I know, and you won't for a first couple of minutes because I had a flood at my house and I'm a little bit off schedule. And so the first couple minutes I'm going to be not on camera because I'm getting to my studio.
Okay, well, I can't, I just see a white screen. So are you sharing a screen right now?
Nope, but you should be able to see, I see your picture.
Okay, I can't get to it or there we go, start video. All right, there we go. Yeah, no, and for some reason my camera wasn't working today, so I'm having to use my computer camera. I don't know what's going on.
Oh,
It's usually plug and play, but not today.
not today.
Not today.
Not today. I'm gonna be off of camera for the first couple minutes, and then I'll be on regular camera.
Okay.
So just trying to think of the best way to do this. I had 2 meetings today that all. How are you doing? How about that?
I'm good. I had a doctor's appointment this morning, so I've been doing the same thing.
Oh, great. Now my big
Because
question.
I saw your Instagram message, but it's like I'm sporadically checking.
That's okay. I realized that I normally talk with someone the day before and ask things like, do you want to share screen? Are you going to show images? Are you going to talk? What's your pleasure?
It doesn't matter. I mean, we can just, if you want to just talk about my story, I can share the screen as necessary.
Yeah.
I don't, we do these once a week for Zeiss, so I've been doing them since March, where I'm the interviewer and not the interviewee.
Yeah.
But I've kind of gotten used to it. I'm good extemporaneously, so feel free to ask me questions, lead me to places.
Okay. Any areas you'd like to talk about? Usually I either have people like just do their own talk, or if we want an interview, we kind of go over what they want to talk about.
Well, I know you and I had talked about your initial post asked for interesting stories.
Yeah.
And my story is about prosopagnosia as a photographer.
Uh-huh.
So I have no facial recognition.
Right.
So my camera is my facial recognition.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I thought that was, an interesting, I don't know if you got a chance to watch, I think I sent a link to the Zeiss video that they did on me that talks about that.
Yes.
You watched it.
It was right when we first started talking about this. Are you going to show a part of that video, or are you going to show images?
Would you like me to show the video? I certainly can.
I think that would be awesome. I think that would be awesome.
Let me just pull that up, and I will just get that up and ready to go.
Awesome. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to connect us to Facebook Live.
Okay. So if I play it, you can hear the sound. Okay. All right. That's good. Oh, that's just the short version. You don't want the short version. You want the full version.
What do you think would show off best also?
You mean image-wise or on the video?
What's your preference? I mean, honestly, this is a time that I create a platform for people to share who they are as an artist, a little about their journey. Sometimes people come with a fully prepared, you know what I mean? Like, this is my talk. And then sometimes it's really like we have an improvisational conversation.
I'm probably best with an improvisational conversation.
Okay, that is totally cool.
Do you want to start with the video? Because that'll give you, it's 3.5 minutes. That'll give you a few minutes for you to get settled.
We could. I can't seem to get the Facebook Live. Wouldn't it be nice to have that on our Facebook Live?
Yes. Yes.
I
I
think-
I understand. Sometimes these things just don't work as planned.
I know. And I was like, with the mold remediation people, like, I've got to leave right now. I have to be on air. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
And at any rate, it wasn't.
Yeah. No, I was doing the same thing this morning with my doctor. I was saying, you cannot, they made the person in front of me wait for almost an hour. And I walked over to the desk and said, I'm sorry, but if you need me to wait an hour, I have to leave.
Yeah.
We'll have to reschedule this because I can't do that.
Yeah. And then the other thing, speaking of scheduling, my assistant, Iris, who's been back and forth with you, her father is in Ghana, and he fell sick, and she got on an airplane to go there. And she normally schedules that the bio of the person is sent, and it didn't. I was looking for through my email, and would you mind? I know you filled that out and you sent it to her, but that goes to her message. Would you mind sending me your bio one more time?
Sure. Let me just pull it up. I've got it in got it in Word, so I can cut and paste it.
And I'll start by thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I apologize.
No,
About
no
your-
worries. Okay, that is an artist statement and not a bio, Tracy. It's like, where have I put this?
It's okay.
I've saved so many lately. All right. And the Word is just not wanting to cooperate. It's not letting me cut and paste. There we go. Copy. Do you want me to email it to you or text it? KarinaSephora@gmail.com.
Yeah. Actually, text might be easier to just pull up.
Okay.
And what I'm gonna do is share that, and then I will open up
What phone number?
678-523-9969.
Oh, and I had you in my phone already.
Yay!
Wow. All right,
like
so it's
we talked, I think, around the open studios, that kind of stuff.
we did talk. I came with my friend Charlotte, and I also, because at the time I had told you if you needed a headshot to let me know, and you had said, yeah, we might do that. So I think we exchanged information on that.
Right, that is right. And we've been in the dance with being neighbors and all of that stuff for a while. And
so now, are you staying to the bitter end?
I think I am. In fact, I had a great conversation with Anthony this morning, and I've been really encouraging him to do something, like creative, and he's like, yeah, COVID, where I was in my school at Mass Art, we had a building that Harvard bought, and we, they were going to tear down everything but the facade, and we made all these art installations and created this huge form of expression. And inside our conversation today, he's like, I kind of miss planning the art stuff, and I was like, well, we could do something,
Yeah, absolutely.
And at any rate, so that was a good thing.
I'm just starting to show in fine art shows, and
oh wow,
would love to join in on that.
Yeah, that's great. So in exactly 11 minutes, I'll be able to open up my computer, and I think that might be the nice time to show the video, and we could talk casually between that. Does that work for you?
Yeah, exactly. That works.
Okay. Great.
You just let me know, and I'll be ready to do whatever you need me to do.
Okay. I didn't receive the bio yet. If you were texting it.
I did text it.
Okay.
It says it's delivered.
Okay, so it has.
Says it went iMessage.
Oh, in Messenger, not in text.
Well, I use Messenger to text from my computer.
Maybe email it because it hasn't arrived yet.
I emailed it too.
Oh, you emailed it. Okay.
I
great.
did both. I actually emailed it first and then I texted it.
Okay.
Because I'm cutting and pasting from my computer. So
Got it.
yeah.
Got
But I
Got
put it in both text and email.
Okay. Okay, great. And then my next question is, did you, were there any people that you invited to come to the talk today that you're expecting?
I just put it out on social media.
Okay.
I see Jeff Willard in.
Oh, good. Great. Welcome, Jeff.
Hi there.
Great. Well, we are at the bottom of the hour. In fact, we're 3 minutes after the bottom of the hour. So I am going to introduce the show, and I will introduce Tracy in one moment and share just a little bit of the history of how Connect and Create came to be. And I will be off camera for just the next 10 minutes or so. And then I'll be on camera. There's something that I'm managing over here. So Connect and Create came about at sort of the early part of the pandemic and the stay-at-home portion of the pandemic. And I had some friends who started a show called The Daily Huddle, and I was a guest speaker on it and would go every morning, and it became part of my schedule, part of my daily ritual, where all of my other normal daily rituals were gone. And so starting with yoga to going to the studio, none of that was happening. So the Daily Huddle gave me a space to celebrate being an entrepreneur and an artist. And after I was a speaker, I invited other people to be speakers. I was so excited about this opportunity and this platform. And somewhere in there, I chose to create a platform of my own. And that's how Connect and Create became. And inside of Connect and Create, I think we're at episode 35 now. So it's happened every Tuesday. I recently received a grant from Fulton County Council for the Arts that helps to fund some of the aspects of the programming, which has been a gift. And sort of still in the process that's happening, just to be totally honest. But I want to acknowledge, being a recipient of that. And today we are honored to have Tracy Bosworth Page with us today. And Tracy, thank you so much for being here. I know we've both been neighbors at the goat farm, and we have met on occasion at Open Studios. And we have crossed paths a number of times, although what I'm really looking forward to in today's conversation is actually really getting to know you better and to hear your story, your creative journey. So
I'm looking forward to that too. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And before we get into that, anything else you'd like to say before I share some of your accolades and who you are as a photographer and an artist, creative being?
No, just we're doing the same thing. We're all finding our pandemic space, and I think this is phenomenal. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
Okay, great, awesome. Well, Tracy is the photographer behind the successful headshot and editorial portrait business. And Tracy Bosworth Page, she's a graduate of the University of Georgia. Great, I was a professor there for a little while. With her degree in advertising and fine art, and she has been been photographing actors, entertainers, and professionals for both headshots and editorial portrait work for over 15 years, and she's considered a master photographer by the Professional Photographers of America, and certified professional photographer, and is a believer in educating and mentoring aspiring and professional photographers. That is wonderful. You know, it's one thing to have a craft and a skill, but to be able to be generous and to share that is a whole other world. So thank you for doing that. She's a member of the Atlanta photography group, the Professional Photographers of America, and of the American Society of Photographers, and counts among her awards the 2017 Best Portrait from Southeast Professional Photography Association. And Tracy is an ambassador for Zeiss camera lenses. And Tracy, that big award that you were talking about inside of your biography, is that of my neighbor?
No, that one
Oh.
was actually Jennifer Schotstadt, but the one of your neighbor, David, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
So yeah, David is that one of David in the fur is probably my most iconic image. That one, I mean, I won a Fuji Film Award for that one. But it's what hooked me up with my sponsor, which is Zeiss, and got me some industry attention. So David was definitely a wonderful muse, and I miss him. I know we all do.
Yeah, definitely. Like, as I even just say that and, you know, share about, you know, my neighbor, I just think of that amazing image. Is there a place people can see that image, Tracy?
Yes, I can actually, I think, let me check. I may be able to pop it up on the screen. Well,
Okay.
this is not the, I don't think I have the fur one in here, but I definitely have the most recent one I've done of him in here. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
So David, again, oops, I have to share my screen before I make that huge. You know, I will figure this out, folks. Just bear with me. We will get there. Okay, here we go. Can you see it now?
Oh, yeah. It's not the full screen.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, there might be one adjustment, but yeah.
So there's a great story behind this image too, because when I did this image, I shot this. The first image we did, the one in the fur that you were talking about, David would always wear these. David was this larger than life character that we all knew, and he would always wear these furs whenever he was out riding his bike. And I had said, you know, next time you're wearing your fur, will you please come in my studio? And he did, and we shot like 10 images and got that as one of the images. This one, this particular image we did after his first brain surgery. He died of a glioblastoma last summer, and his son had given him this cap that he's wearing in the image to cover the scar from the brain surgery. And this particular one, Zeiss used for campaign the following year. And so they put it on their trade show booth. So it was like 8 feet wide by 6 feet tall, but it was also like 9 or 10 feet off the floor. So you could see it from the entire trade show floor. And we're talking about a trade show that, you know, had between 10 and 12,000 photographers attending. So it was a large trade show, and you could see David's image towering over the entire trade show floor. And then there was a big Zeiss logo hanging from the ceiling right over the top of the image. And David came to see it, and he and his son walked in, and David told, it was right as the brain cancer was starting to come back, and he was kind of not feeling well, losing energy. And he told Chalmers, you know, son, I need to go to the restroom. Where do you want me to meet you? And Chalmers pointed behind him and said, how about by the giant image of you, Dad?
Wow.
Just,
You know, Tracy, I love you sharing about that, because I remember him getting ready for that. As I mentioned, I was his neighbor at the goat farm. And I remember him getting ready, and he was so excited. He's like, there's this photographer and she wants to photograph me. Didn't you do some with his motorcycle also?
no, I didn't do any with his motorcycle, but we did it right after he got off of his motorcycle. So he said he didn't even brush out his beard. He just came straight into the studio. And that image, oh gosh, it's like now I feel challenged to find it. Let me stop sharing the screen so that I can go see if I can find it. That image just became a really, where are you? Stop share. And that image just became a really iconic image of David. And it just became, it's hard to say what that did for me. That particular image opened up whole new worlds for me. Zeiss approached me about being an ambassador based on that image. Oh, it's not going to pull up for me, unfortunately.
No.
But Zeiss approached me of being an ambassador based on that image, and I got a medium format company. Their marketing department called me, and I was getting attention from Nikon, and all of that happened because of that image of David, which just was a phenomenal experience for me. I'm just trying to see if I can find it, because y'all really should see it. It's a really, I found it. It's a cool image. Yeah, no, I found it. Okay, so this is not going to be as full screen as the others, but you can see the image. So that is it, of David and his fur.
Wow. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, literally,
That's
I was shooting someone else and David came into the studio, so I stopped what I was doing and we did like 10 images of David, and that was it. But what we realized in this moment was that David and I had this incredible connection, and he was really able to focus intensely on me, and I was able to get that in the image. You know, like he said, he didn't even brush out his beard. He just came straight into the studio, and we got this just incredible image. And
yeah,
so I don't know, did you see the other one that I did? Let me see if I can pull this one up. So I have another one that I did of David. Let me see. Am I still sharing the screen or did that stop?
nope, that stopped.
Okay, hold on just a second. We'll get this one up. So this one, can you see this one?
Yes.
So this one will take you emotionally back a little bit. This is outside the seed shed, and his flags, he had these Venetian prayer flags, and David was taking them down because the cancer had got to the point where he really couldn't continue to live at the goat farm, so he was going to move home with his mother. And so he was taking all of his prayer flags down. So he asked me, he said, before I take my prayer flags down, would you come photograph me and let's create a piece to give to my kids? So we kind of did this together with David basically fading in and out of his flags. And there is another reiteration of it. I don't have it on this drive, but there's another reiteration of it where I actually have him like popping through the chair. His body is kind of sunk into the chair and you can see the slats of the chair. But it was just really important to him to capture it. I didn't even clean up when I did the cleaning of this image. I didn't even clean up the cigarette butts. I left everything just as it was.
Yeah.
And that was, and we made prints of this for each of his kids. Oops, I'm trying to get out of this and stop sharing my screen. We made prints for each of his kids when they, at his memorial service. And now I've got a little like David altar in my studio because David during, I don't know if you remember this, and I didn't mean for the whole program to be about David, but David would paint these little tiny army men. That was his what he did during chemo to kind of relax. And so there are thousands of these little painted men from like the French Revolution, the American Revolution, the Civil War. I mean, just thousands of these things. Some are metal die cast, some are plastic. And so I have about a dozen of them in my studio, but I have a little tiny one that he painted, which has a ring of white hair with a little baldness and a long white ponytail and piercing blue eyes. And then it's got a bandage and a dab of blood right where his tumor was. And I carry that in my car and take it in places and occasionally photograph it and put it on Instagram, and I call it Pocket David.
I'm going to go and look at your Instagram page and look for that.
It's been a while since I posted a Pocket David, so you'd really have to dig.
Oh, okay.
But
great.
I need the first one I posted was in a Thai restaurant, which I just thought was so appropriate because he, you know, that whole story about him and going to Thailand to study martial arts.
I know.
So
you know, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, when you said that about the martial arts in Thailand, he, my art studio is literally right next door to where his studio was, where he oftentimes stayed quite a bit. We just say he lived there.
Yeah, he
And
did live there. He said that.
he redid the floors. I mean, we share, we ran electrical from my building to his building. The electricians did, and I mean, it was really like we were just neighbors. He would make me little coffees and we'd sit on his porch and talk. And one day I had this studio assistant. I'm trying to think of what her name was. And she was, and so he was out there and he was practicing his martial arts, and he was wearing all black. It was before the prayer flag. I think it might have been before he knew he was sick. And he was out there, and my assistant comes to me and she says, I think there's a wizard next door. Because he had his white beard and his long white hair, and he was doing this like swaying, you know what I mean? Like martial art out there. And he did look quite wizardly, and it was very interesting. It was very interesting to see that.
The background of the video that I want to show, you'll see there's a painting behind me in some of the shots, and that is a painting that David did. And that Saturday morning, the crew was coming down. So Zeiss hired a crew to come make this video, and I'm going to show everybody. It's a little bit long, but and I see my friend Carla. Hi, Carla. So Zeiss did this video of me, and they brought a crew it was like a 6-man crew that came in and did this project. I mean, it was so cool. I mean, it's like a real director of photography, sound, everybody. It was the coolest experience. But they were coming in on Saturday at 2 o'clock. And the day before, David's son Chalmers called me and he said, would you like one of my dad's paintings? And I was, yes, of course. And he said, well, I have one that's 5 feet wide. Would you like that? And I'm like, yes. And I'm thinking in my brain, I'm like, I want this to be the backdrop of the video. But I don't want to pressure Chalmers to get it here tomorrow. So I'm just trying to be cool. And I said, so Chalmers, there's no way this is going to fit in my little BMW convertible. I can't get a 5-foot painting in my tiny little car. And he goes, well, I've got Dad's truck. Why don't I bring it to you in the morning? So he literally brought it to me Saturday morning, and the crew was arriving Saturday afternoon. So that is the background shot for some of our shots in the video.
Oh, wow.
And I just felt like David is such a, because he was the reason that I was able to land Zeiss as a sponsor, because I saw that image of David. And then they used that image of David for the trade show, and for it was the back cover of the magazine for some magazine ads that they did. And our marketing director, Tony Wisniewski, just really loves those images of David. So he tends to pull them out a lot. And so David is such a huge part of my story about my success in the last few years. And there, in the video, it just seemed like full circle.
That's wild. That's pretty great. So the internet gods are not on my side in terms of connecting Facebook Live at the moment, but we are recording this. And so if you want to show the video, I'll send you this recording, and then we can publicize it. So I apologize.
Okay, no worries. I told you we've been doing these live since March. It's been our pandemic project. We've been doing them for Zeiss. And so once a week we come on with either a different topic or we interview a different photographer. And so we have had our share of OBS crashing, Zoom crashing. It's, these live things just never go the way they're supposed to.
So that being said, anytime you want to share the video, please feel free. There may be one, I'm not sure, in some photographs we could see the bottom bar. There may be one more little, there's that little square that you can press. It'll make the video fill the full page.
I will, let me get it started, and I will, because I have to leave you up just enough to be able to press back and forth, but let me get it started and I will do that. Okay, so go back to share screen, QuickTime viewer, share. Y'all are just gonna have to put up with us doing this. There we go.
Is there sound?
Yes, can you not hear it?
No.
Ah, okay, well, let's stop that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to stop it.
Um,
All right, let's see. Yeah, there is sound, and if you can't hear it, I will just tell everybody where this video is. Because
Maybe if you put, you might try load it up on your desktop so that
you
it's
know,
ready to play.
it's feeding from my desktop. So let me just hold on just a second,
Yeah.
and I will just do the same as them, and let's see if this works.
All right, and
Great.
bear with us on our technical. Thanks everyone
Yeah,
for
we're
being here.
both kind of. Can you hear it now?
I can't.
Okay, all right, we're gonna stop that. So if everybody, if you want to see the video from Zeiss, it's on my Instagram page. There is a link at the top of the Instagram page. I am Tracy Bosworth page, and that will take you, that link will take you to the video. But that's probably good anyway, because that way Zeiss gets the viewers on their YouTube, and that helps boost it. So
Yeah.
so
You
so
could
the
also,
story, and I'm sorry, you want me to put it in the chat?
I was going to say, you could put a link in the chat if you would like to.
Yeah, no, I will do that. Let me just go. Actually, I'm just going to put the link in to my Instagram page because it's there at Tracy Bosworth page on Instagram. And the video is in the bio, a link. Okay, there you go. There, that's where you find
Cool.
it. So my story is, and this was what Karina and I had talked about, is that I am completely face blind. I am a face blind photographer. I realized my sophomore year of college at the University of Georgia, I was at Lamar Dodd School of Art, and I realized that I was painting and drawing major, and I really wanted to focus on portraits. And at some point, we realized I didn't see people the same way other people saw them. And I was in a life drawing class looking at the model, and when the model, you know, I did a fairly good representation of her, but when she turned around to get dressed, you know, the end of our 2 hours was up, I started to put everything away because I was done. The model had turned around. I couldn't remember what she looked like anymore. My classmates, I looked to the right, my classmates are still drawing, and the person on the right of me is still drawing in her face. And that completely blew my mind. I didn't understand how this person could be so much more talented than I was, that he remembered what she looked like. I didn't even know at that point that I really had a problem. I just thought, oh my God, these portrait people, they can remember what people look like, and I can't, and maybe I need to get out of this. So I changed my major. I'd wanted to change over to graphic design, and that was full. So I ended up changing over to advertising because that allowed me to take graphic design classes. But that was literally the moment that kind of changed my path and changed my life. And after about almost 20 years of working in advertising and as a brand manager, I discovered photography. And the thing about being face blind is that my camera has become my memory. So I'm always focused in on the eyes and the nose, especially because I can't remember that part. And a talent agent in Atlanta came across some of my images and called me one day and said, "Do you want to do this for a living? We will train you." And I knew nothing about photography at all. I had absolutely nothing. But having been a fine art major at UGA, I knew composition and color theory. And so I knew a lot about art, even if I didn't know anything about the camera. So I just started really focusing in on learning how to use my camera, but also focused in on that genre of headshots and portraits. And, you know, just really learned how to do it. And but even now, you know, I've been married to my husband 32 years. I can't see my husband in my memory. I don't know what it's like to kind of be able to see a three-dimensional image of somebody, but I can remember a photograph of both of us from about 10 years ago. And so when I picture my husband in my head, I recall that photograph. And that's really just become my memory, is shooting people and trying to get their eyes on camera. And sometimes even then I don't don't make connections and I don't remember. I just ran into a client. I've been shooting Priya Ferguson from Stranger Things. She plays Erica on Stranger Things. I'm photographing her for years. And I ran into Priya and her mom somewhere and, got, hi, Miss Tracy, and lots of hugs. And I think at some point it became evident to her mom that I didn't know who they were. And she kind of saddled up next to me and she said, "You don't know who we are, do you?" And I was like busted. And I literally said that. I just looked at her and said, I'm busted. And she said, "It's Priya and Aja Ferguson." And I felt so bad because I think I'd photographed this kid for like 4 years at that point. So I sent articles on prosopagnosia to Priya and just, I'm just trying to explain to her, it's not because I don't love you. I do. I just don't have the ability to recognize you. And that's just the way it is. I don't recognize anybody outside of a photograph that maybe I may or may not have locked in, depending on how well I know them.
Wow.
Kind of
That's great.
my interesting little background. So that was really what started me in photography, but it still took me a long time for me to understand that photography is an acceptable paintbrush. That was a really hard concept for me because it felt like it was cheating. Like I'm instantly recording a face instead of drawing a face or painting a face. And it's really taken me just until the last few years for me to feel like what I'm doing now is an acceptable art form. And so I've just in the last few months, I've started entering fine art juried exhibitions, and I got accepted in my first two and didn't get accepted into my third one. So I'm a little brokenhearted about that. But my first two are showing now. One of them is part of Atlanta Celebrates Photography, and it was their legal aid, social justice, picturing justice exhibit. It will be, because of the pandemic, it will actually be shown in the Atlanta Legal Aid offices next year, and we'll have a reception for it next year, but it's been online for this month of Atlanta Celebrates Photography. And then the other one, the Atlanta Photography Group it's open now, did a program called Francis Thompson Selects, where every year they invite a different curator to jury an exhibition. And Francis Thompson was our jury this year. And he is a national art buyer and represents artists for hotels and office buildings all across the country. So he said he had over 500 pieces he looked at, and mine was one of 85 he picked out of 45 photographers that ended up in the show. So I feel
Congratulations
on that. So thank you. Thanks. And next year, I did not get into Buckhead this year, but next year I'll figure that one out too. It's going to be a mission. Now get into that show because
That's really great. It's always about creating a new future, isn't it?
it really is. It's reinventing ourselves, but there's this whole thing about, pushing forward and continuing to learn. And so I worked with a mentor a few years ago named Arthur Rainville. We worked together for 2 years, and Arthur really pushed me to better learn, having been at UGA's Lamar Dodd, I know a lot of my art history, the 14th, 15th, 16th century painters, but what I didn't know was contemporary photographers. And Arthur really pushed me to study contemporary photographers, and I got to really know the works of, Irving Penn and Richard Avedon that I didn't know before. So, and then I read this huge biography on Richard Avedon that really inspired a lot of work for the last few years. And right now I'm working my way through Karsh, Joseph Karsh has been very inspirational, and Arnold Newman, who's kind of like the father of environmental portraits. So lately in my work, you'll see a lot of Arnold Newman influence, kind of pushing that environmental portrait and drawing in a little bit more of the story. So it's not just a face. And right now I'm fortunate enough, I don't know if anybody's on Instagram and I can go show this image. I'm working on, this has been my pet project for a while. I have wanted to do immigrants. I feel like we've really villainized immigrants at the moment. The current political climate has really villainized this whole class of people. And I don't know about you, but my family came here between the late 1800s and 1906. My mother's grandfather, they all arrived around 1905, 1906. So we are immigrants. And I feel like if I can, because of my focus on the eyes and my ability to tell the story through eyes, if I can somehow humanize and make a connection and make us feel like we can relate to each other, then that's a gift that I need to, that's the gift that I can offer during this particular political climate. I've really wanted to photograph first and second generation immigrants to the United States, and I've been pushing to do this, and we were all lined up to do it with a sponsor and everything, and working with Mount Sinai Medical School in New York a little bit, and then the pandemic hit. So that really, you know, and I don't know if you know about Mount Sinai, they got hit particularly hard because New York City was one of the centers of the disease. So that put everything on the back burner, but I wanted to proceed with this project because it's kind of burning a hole in my heart at the moment. So this weekend, I was working with a client a few weeks ago, and she mentioned that her Korean
Tracy.
grandparents. Yes. Were you saying something?
I just
Karina?
wanted to let you know your page. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little.
Can you hear me okay, Tracy?
Yes, you are breaking up a little bit.
Your page doesn't seem to be showing, and it could be on my end. I just wanted to see if you were sharing an image, or
Oh, I'm not.
you
I'm
froze
just, I
for a
stopped
minute
sharing.
and then
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, no, I
okay.
stopped sharing. Carla, can you see me
Okay.
okay? Yeah, Carla sees me. So it's just you, Karina.
Okay, it
No,
must be
I'm
on
kidding.
my end. I'm at the
I'm
goat
just,
farm and my internet is
yeah, I
not
know.
working very well.
Karina's got some stuff going on at home and had to vacate the premise. So this weekend I did her great grandfather, who moved to this country in 1972. And so this is kind of like the official, and I'm going to share the screen so I can pull up this image. This is kind of like the official start of, let me get to the O family here, of this project for me. And I'm just really excited about, hold on, bear with me, everyone. I'm going to try to pull up this image of this family. I was setting up to photograph the grandfather when his grandson jumped into the image, and he did this, and he started to laugh. And the family said that the great grandfather, actually this is his great grandfather, that he never laughs, he never smiles, and he just started laughing at his grandson when his grandson jumped into this image. And so I think it'll be one that I forever treasure. But to kind of get to, let me get out of full screen so I can get to this other image. So this is the image that, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. This is the image of the elderly man that I was kind of after. And then I also did one of his wife and both of his daughter and son-in-law. But this was, you know, I want people to be able to kind of look into these eyes and make some sort of a connection. And that's my goal with these images.
Mm.
So it's the same thing we did with David. I mean, you can see, it's like when you look at those images of David, you can see into his soul. And I want people to be able to look into this man and think not only of themselves, but their family, their grandparents, their great grandparents, and just be able to relate. And if I can create somehow the relationship, then I think then I'm successful.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Karina, do you have any questions for me?
Well, I was getting ready to say if we wanted to open it up to our audience at all to, if they had any questions. This is about the time in the program that we usually do that. Do either of you, Jeff or Carla, have any questions that you want to ask Tracy? Can you guys hear okay?
Yes.
Oh,
Hi,
okay,
Carla.
great. No
Hi.
pressure. And if you don't, I could pick up questions. I just wanted to leave you space in case you did want to ask any questions of Tracy.
Carla and
No.
I share a special love of color, and especially Pantone colors.
Oh.
Tracy, I'm curious about the image that you just showed. The lighting, the light and the dark and the contrast is just perfect.
Thank you.
Does that does that require extra thought for you?
So I learned this lighting technique, actually. I don't know if Carla will remember this or not, but I used to work a lot with Professional Photographers of America on their trade shows. And this particular technique, I told, we had a speaker one year speaking to about 1,500 people, and I wasn't going to get to see his presentation because I was helping run things behind the scenes. And I told the speaker that one of the things I was really struggling with was, you know, I love using natural light and I know where my natural light should be, but how do I place the studio light in the same way? And Tim Kelly said, come in to the speech at this particular time and I will have it set up for you. And so literally I walked into the room at like 1:15 and Tim had set up to demonstrate that light pattern for me. And it's the one that is still my go-to pattern on these portraits because it emulates a wall of windows and I'm using the light in the same place I would use a window. And then to get the ratio, so I'm using 2 key lights on one side of the client. And then to get the ratio on the other side, I'm just filling with some reflectors so that I'm not filling in too much, but that lets me keep about a 1:3 ratio so that I'm not completely going back to shadow on the other side and I can still show some detail, but it does let my client or my subject have dimension and kind of project. So this has become my favorite light pattern. So, and actually there was a video that we did 2 weeks ago with Glazer's Camera Store where I did a live 1-hour demo and we fed to Seattle and then they broadcast it from there. But I showed the lighting setup of that, how I did that. And I'm also using another very large softbox, very high overhead, so that it separates and acts as a hair light. So that's also throwing some light down on the client and keeping it from going totally to black on the opposite side. If you go to the Zeiss Lenses Americas YouTube page, I'll type that in, then on that page, they have a link to the Glazers program that we did a couple of weeks ago. And you'll see it because there is a picture of a girl in purple, in a purple silk dyed dress on it's one of my images. So you'll be able to see that and it says Glazers on it, but that'll show you the lighting setup because we did the whole demo with it.
Okay, cool. I was just, mostly I was just curious,
Wow.
with your face blindness, does it affect, I mean, do you have to put extra thought into getting the lighting correct in the camera?
So I don't know if I put extra thought into it anymore. I think this is, you know, like anything, once you've learned something, it becomes muscle memory. But there's a photographer, I think he's a Nikon ambassador, Jeff McNally. And he did a video for Pro Photo. I mean, it's more than 10 years old. It's pretty old out there. But in the video, he explained that he's using one light to light this subject. And he explains that when you can see the optimum color in their eyes, that your light is correct. So that was an eye-opening moment for me. And whether I'm shooting a natural light or studio light, I'm always looking for that optimum color in the eyes, that light in the eyes, in order to know that my subject is placed correctly. And again, it's just become muscle memory. It's just something that I do now. But whether I'm shooting outside, you'll see me moving a client in and out until I see the eye color exactly as I want it to be. And then I do exactly the same thing in the studio with studio light. I'm not shooting any differently than I shoot outside.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I will look for that.
And the other thing that I don't do, a lot of photographers are taught lighting patterns, broad light, short light, loop, closed loop, Rembrandt, Hollywood, or butterfly. I mean, you're taught these patterns. And so now I might creatively use a pattern, but the color in their eyes is more important to me than whether or not the pattern, I'm finding the pattern right away.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. Tracy, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you fine.
Okay, great. My internet looks like it's stuttering just a little bit. I just want to say it has been such a pleasure to listen to you speak. Actually, you are so well spoken and so well versed, and I love that you have shared the challenges that you had with the facial recognition. I, of course, am so touched. I know that we didn't intend to talk that much about David, but I'm so touched by the relationship that you had with David and how he propelled your career forward. And, from this side, he was always so excited every time he was going to go and do a photography session with you. And when I look at those images that you shared, and I think, and I love how you tell that story about Chalmers. Saying, well, Dad, why don't you go, walk right into that massive photo of you, and I just want to let you know that from this side of being with David in those last bits and, months and days of his life, that you really made an impact on him in his life. And
Thank
that the
you.
legacy that the two of you created, that it was intentional to capture those prayer flags, and for him to make those portraits for his children that he could live on for his children. My I'm not sure if you know this, but my mother also had cancer, and she came to visit me one time, and the two of them, David and my mother, and sat down under the prayer flags in that photo, and they just shared stories of being okay with going to whatever the next world might be, and what was the legacy they would leave for their children, and reflecting on their lives, weird health things they had tried. And I mean, it was just like I let them just have their space to speak. And I wanted to just say that by you sharing those beautiful images of David, it just brought back these memories of my own mother, right? And the legacy that she's left behind. And so I just want to say thank you for being who you've been for David. And I love that it really sounded in your conversation that his images were part of what really catapulted your career,
They were. I
and he
think it
was
was it
always,
was the relationship that was meant to be.
yeah, 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 real synergy there. And I know we've bounced around with the topics of doing some portraits. And, as the Goat Farm Studios come to an end, in the next few months to a year, I would love to make a point of capturing the space with you, and doing some photography here. So that's what I want to say.
So I don't know if you guys out there know that where Karina and I are both based, it's closing down for a couple of years, and it's been pushed out because of the pandemic. So we thankfully get to stay there until the end of March now. But it'll close down for a couple of years, and it won't lose any of its flavor. It'll come back better. And the great thing for us is that when it does come back, after, what they're going to do is they're closing it to bring the whole property up to code. They're reconstructing one of the buildings, which is the building that I'm in. And then when it does come back, this is just the coolest thing. They're going to build the Museum of Contemporary Art on campus. And so we will get to be on the campus with the Museum of Contemporary Art. We'll be working in the same space and on the campus with this museum. And and I'm hoping that one day I'm showing my work, and I know Karina feels the same way, that our work will be in this museum, because it's just, the whole thing is just really, really cool. So while we're sad that we're losing our spaces for a couple of years, we're also really excited about the future opportunities. And the owner, Anthony, is very much behind public art, and part of his plan for the future is how to incorporate public art throughout the entire campus. So we're all really looking forward to what happens, and the synergy there is amazing as well. And we all support other goat farm artists, so that's kind of the cool thing there. And then part of his mission is, I don't know if you guys know about that, there's a building in Manhattan that is Live Work Studios, and the whole idea behind that building was to allow artists to continue to live in Manhattan as prices skyrocket around them. It gives them a place where they can continue to live and work and still afford to be in the city. And that is what the Goat Farm is for us. It's a place where we can live and work and still afford to be in the city. So it's just been a really cool environment that I know we're all very thankful for.
Yeah, definitely. I was just speaking with Anthony this morning, and I shared with him that I have these miniature frogs that live in front of my studio that are about a half inch. And, and he said, we've got to do something about the frogs. We're going to have to relocate the frogs, so that they don't get hurt with all the backhoes are here and everything, So that was a very sweet moment.
And I
Well,
know they've
Tracy,
already
we-
relocated the goats. So
Yeah, the goats have been relocated. They're in a farm in someplace, Lithonia, I think it is. So yeah, next is the frogs. We did the llamas, the goats, the dogs, and some
the
of the chickens are
donkeys.
still here, but the frogs. Yeah, we were already like slotting maybe the botanical gardens because they have the same lilies. And he's like, what happens in the winter? And I was like, I think they bury themselves and like hibernate in the mud, but. So yeah, we might be relocating the frogs. And I'm like, do I
Love it.
call the botanical garden? Bring them over.
Yeah.
So listen, our time has come to an end. And I want to ask you, Tracy, you can talk about the frogs if you want, but what are your last words? What would you like to share with our community, with our group here and the world?
This is something that I've said for the longest time, but it's taken until now for me to really get this message for myself, that we are artists when we create art. It doesn't matter what we create. The art is in the act of doing. If it remains in your head, it's not yet art. But when you get it out of yourself, when it's outside of yourself, whether it's performance or metal or photography or painting or whatever it is, it doesn't matter if you're trained or not. It doesn't matter if you think you have an artistic eye. The art is in creating the piece. And so it's incumbent on all of us to create art by actually doing it. So that's
Yeah.
my final thought for the day.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here. And I apologize about the technical issues today. And I really appreciate your professionalism and your story and just sharing yourself with us. And so thank you so much. And thank you, Carla and Jeff. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and everyone else.
Thank you.
Bye, Carla.
Take care. Come
Great.
back.
Bye, Jeff.
We have
Bye.
from California to be with us, and we look forward to hearing from you. All right, I'm going to take our recording off. Stop.